Hello, good evening, and Merry Christmas! Welcome to Prog Chattery 777. Welcome to my new location. I had to change spots. My old location that you guys are probably more familiar with is actually not a winterized location, and seeing how we are just on the edge of Christmas, it's getting quite cold out there, so I needed somewhere else to do my filming, and here it is. I hope you like it. Today I'm going to be talking about the Jethro Tull Christmas album released in 2003. Kind of a funny story, actually. I finished all of the Jethro Tull videos about a month ago with no intention of doing the Jethro Tull Christmas album. I wanted to stick to just the main studio albums, the albums that featured, just new material. And I was really kind of focused and dead set on that. And I went ahead and recorded everything. And now, as I've been releasing them bit by bit, by either pure coincidence or by brilliant subconscious planning, I released the Rupees Dance video just a few hours ago, and the next album in the sequence would be the Jethro Tull Christmas album. We are within a gnat's whisker of Christmas, so of course I'm going to release the Jethro Tull Christmas album. There's no way I wouldn't. And it's also a little thank you for you guys for tuning in and for watching my videos. I do appreciate it. I appreciate the likes and the comments. They're wonderful. So yeah, Merry Christmas. Here's the Jethro Tull Christmas album. Yeah, so it's released by the same Jethro Tull lineup that we had for the last two Tull albums, them being Roots to Branches and jtull.com. So we've got Ian Anderson on vocals, flute, guitar, and he is the songwriter for a lot of the new stuff. We have Martin Barr, of course, on the guitar. We've got Andrew Giddings on keyboards, Dome Perry on the drums, as well as James Duncan, Ian Anderson's son, who was the child's voice on A. Batteries Not Included. He did the kid's voice on that track. He plays drums on over a third of the album, quite interestingly. Yeah, James Duncan. And we also have Jonathan Noyce on the bass, of course. I think I covered everybody. Dave Pegg also makes a return. He plays mandolin on a couple of tracks. I think he plays bass on a couple of tracks as well. Yeah, so that's cool. The album itself, obviously, it is a Christmas album. So musically, it's a little bit different from the other Tull records, the ones I mentioned before, Roots to Branches and .com. It doesn't really have the same kind of ethnic world influence as those albums, but it's a Christmas album. Of course it's gonna be filled with Christmas songs. And the songs themselves on this album are kind of a mishmash of songs. There's a few new songs that were written, like songs, vocal songs that were written for it. There's a few traditional songs that were given new arrangements. And there's a whole bunch of older Tull songs from across the discography that got newer, updated versions recorded. So it's got quite a nice little variety to it, even if it is within the context of a Christmas album. So yeah, I certainly quite like it. I typically only throw it on around this time of the year, so maybe that was another one of the reasons I was hesitant to record the Christmas album a few weeks ago. But yeah, let's talk about the tracks. Let's get on to the main event, shall we? The album opens with Birthday Card at Christmas, which I had discussed in the previous video. This song was the bonus track to Rupees Dance. And obviously, situated as it is as the opener to the Christmas album, that's exactly where it should be. It's a great opener. Lots of great energy. The flute is just right there at the beginning, and that wonderful acoustic guitar, that distinctive acoustic sound. Really, really great opener. And of course, it is a tribute to those who are born within the close range of Christmas, and having to get your birthday card just when all the Christmas cards are going around and all that. Yeah, it's a great theme, and it's good that a song has been written for those folks, because they need representation, Track 2 is Holly Herald. I should also mention briefly, normally I've got the album. I don't own a physical copy of the album. I tried finding it a long time ago, and then I tried again and again and again, and it's out of print or something, and for whatever reason, I've just never been able to track it down. I do have a CD that was burned for me by a friend, and it was I do know the album pretty well. It's been a regular car album when the holidays come around. Anyway, so that explains why I don't have a copy of the album to show. It's a great album cover too. It's a shame. I love the album cover. Very Christmassy, obviously. Anyway, we were talking about track 2, which is Holly Herald. The second song of the album is a instrumental, kind of a medley of a whole bunch of Christmas melodies. I think some of them must be traditional. I mean, some of them have that familiarity where it's, again, no one really knows who wrote it, but it's an established melody. And I obviously Anderson took a lot of liberties, or he wrote a lot of it and just kind of had that knack for writing something that sounds familiar. But in the context of the album, Holly Herald works really well. It paces the album quite nicely. We get that lovely burst at the beginning with Birthday Card at Christmas, and yeah, I mean, it makes the album feel paced right, and that's the thing with it. It's not necessarily, it's an album that you can listen to it in many ways. You can just sit there with your stereo and have it on and take it in and focus, or you could just have it in the background. It works both ways. Track 3 is a Christmas song, one of the oldest songs from the Tull catalog. And this is given, obviously, a brand new arrangement. It was recorded in 2003, or possibly 2002, whenever it was recorded, early 2000s. And I think I like the original version better. I think the production's a little bit too crisp and a little bit too clean on this particular album. The original version has got a rawness and a grit to it, which I think is probably a little better representative of the song itself. But you can't have a Jethro Tull Christmas album without having a Christmas song, so of course it's there. And it is a good version. Anderson sings really well on it. This whole album, actually, his voice sounds quite good. Good display of the later career voice. Track 4 is another Christmas song. Now this version I actually like a lot better than the original. I think the 2003 version is quite a bit better. In a lot of ways it's quite similar. The arrangement is similar, but the production and the fact that we get a real drummer, that might be James Duncan, that might be Dome Perry. I'm not too sure. I couldn't tell you who drummed on what track. But obviously having a real drummer on another Christmas song does give it maybe a better warmth, a greater warmth to it. Yeah, it is quite nice. I like that version better than the Rock Island version. Then we get to track 5, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. Great little bit of traditional Christmas music. And a very excellent jazzy rendition of the melody. This version is very much in the spirit of the original Bouree, actually, in that we get the melody is established at the beginning with the sort of jazz, a jazz take, and then it gradually builds, and we get the kind of frenzied, heavy rock section where it all goes crazy in that. So yeah, it's very much in the vein of the original Bouree. Yeah, great version, and that's something I think the later versions of Tull that carried on through the 2000s or the noughties or whatever that decade's called. If the 90s Tull was really into the world music thing, I think the noughties Tull was more into the jazz stuff. There was a jazzy influence to almost all the eras of Tull's music, but I think the later, the last decade that was a Tull, that was called Jethro Tull, the last decade of that band, I think was more in the vein of jazz. I might be wrong, but most of the live performances I've seen are quite jazzy. Anyway, that takes us to track 6. Is it track 6? I think it is. Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow. this is a great song, and normally I think when I first got the album, I would have thought that was one of the new tracks, but it's actually from the '80s. It dates back to the Broadsword era. It was actually an outtake from the Broadsword sessions, and I'm more familiar with this version than the original version. I've heard the original a few times, but I really like the Christmas album version. Great song. I love the 5/8 time signature. That main theme is really nice and bouncy. Kind of reminds me of Too Old to Rock and Roll, but if it was on Too Old to Rock and Roll, it would have been one of the best songs on that album. I'm not the biggest fan of that album, but yeah, Jack Frost and the Hooded Crow is a great song, and again, very evocative of the Christmas spirit, which is what we're looking for a Christmas album. Haha. Next song is The Last Man at the Party. Now this song I quite like. This might be my favorite on the album, actually. This is another one of the new songs. And really reminds me of the classic songs from the Wood period. A lot of those, that kind of Celtic, pagan influence. Yeah, it's a great song. Yeah, it's a song about, the Christmas parties and camaraderie and, the whole spirit of the thing, and very, very witty, fun, classic Ian Anderson lyrics. It's kind of it's almost like one of those later day kind of songs where he's describing a scene from one perspective, all happening at once, but the whole song kind of jots down one person's unbiased perspective, or perhaps it's biased, who knows. It's a great song, that's the point. It's a great Christmas song. You don't have to think too hard about it, unless you're a prog person like we all are. Ho. Anyway, the next song is Weathercock. Of course, this was originally on Heavy Horses, and it is one of my favorite Jethro Tull songs. However, again, I think I like the original version better in this case. The arrangement on this album is really, really nice. Like, the 2003 version is very, very crisp. The performance is very, very clean. It sounds great. I mean, you can hear every detail of the arrangement, like particularly at the very end. That down, 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 down. That's you hear all of it. But that song. It just suits the raw sound to it, you know what I mean? Like the version in 2003 sounds like it was recorded in a nice studio with nice, soundproof walls and all that. The original version sounds like it was recorded in a barn, and I like the barn version. But yeah, still great song, and it fits on the album. Is it Christmassy? Is Weathercock a Christmassy song? I'm not really sure. In context of the album, it works. I mean, it fits with the rest of the album. So, again, context is a big thing, right? So, there you go. Now, the next song is Pavane, which is, I don't know too much about it. It's, again, it's a familiar melody. It's a melody that I've heard before. It's a classical piece. According to Wikipedia, it was written by a fellow named Gabriel Fauré, and it was written in 1887. That's what my note says. A French composer. I know the piece was originally written for piano, although the version on the Christmas album it's dominated by the acoustic guitar, and it has its dynamic moments where it gets big, and there's lots of we get the classic heavy guitar bits in that, but yeah, for the most part, it's led by the acoustic. It's a nice piece. Again, it's the same thing. It's instrumental, obviously. It's a thing where I think is this Christmassy, but context of the album, if you're sitting there listening to it and there's snow, falling down outside and the fireplace is going, and yeah, of course it's gonna sound Christmassy. The next track. First Snow on Brooklyn. This is another one of the new songs that was written for the album, and I like it a little bit less than Last Man at the Party or Birthday Card at Christmas. Really good song. Kind of more in the vein of kind of a jazzy ballad than like a Celtic folk song. which is fine. Still evokes the Christmas spirit, although it is a bit more on the melancholy side. But again, it's a mood shift, right? You know, different colors in the album to give it that variation. So again, it helps the pacing of the album quite well. And yeah, some years I really like it. This year it passed by, and I was looking forward to the later songs on the album, which. The next of which is Greensleeved, which of course is Greensleeves, Ian Anderson's very, very jazzy, very highly syncopated, rhythmic version of Greensleeves. And it is really good. It's only like 2.5 minutes. It could be a little bit longer if you ask me, but it is a fantastic version of Greensleeves. The way that Anderson arranged the melody and the way that the accents come out, it really changes it. I mean, it's recognizable enough, but it also kind of makes your head turn a little bit when you first hear that melody come up. I can't imitate it right now, but it is really cool. One of the highlights of the album for me, really. Then we move to Fire at Midnight, originally a Songs from the Woods song. And I like the 2003 version better. I think this song is better suited to that crisp arrangement. And this is a case where it's the original version I don't think was really meant to be a Christmassy song, but it actually really is. Fire at Midnight. I talked about it in the Songs from the Wood video. You can hear my blabbery about the song itself, but in context of the album, like I said, it works really well. The midsection is really nice as well. The production really makes it shine. Then we move on. The next song on the album is We Five Kings, a nice little bit of traditional Christmas music. This one, there's got to be a certain reference with that. The timing of that wood block against that 5/8 rhythm really brings back memories of Living in the Past. I can hear the original version of Living in the Past in that, and it's great. Again, you get that highly syncopated version of a very recognizable melody. So it makes it sound fresh. It makes it sound new, and yeah, fantastic track. Another highlight for me. Then moving on, we're nearing the end of the album. The last song with vocals is Ring Out Solstice Bells, which of course is another Songs from the Woods song. And again, along with Fire at Midnight, I think I like the 2003 version of this better. I quite like the production of the original Songs from the Wood album, so I'm not sure why that is. I prefer Weathercock from Heavy Horses, but all the songs that are from Songs from the Wood, I like the 2003 version better. I'm not sure why. But this version of Ring Out Salsa Spells has got a great vocal performance on it, which is quite nice, obviously. And yeah, the production really lets it shine. And Celebration of the Solstice, of course it belongs on the Christmas album. Great song. Then we move on to Bouree. Of course we get Bouree. What Tull album is complete without Bouree? And we get the standard early 2000s version of it. The song went through many arrangements over the course of the Tull story, but we get the then current version, and it's quite similar to the version that I've heard them play. Modern, more recent versions of Bouree that have been played. It's pretty close to that version. But this is a really good take. Obviously, it's recorded in the studio, but Anderson really lets loose with the flute, and we kind of get it's very reminiscent to the early days. He's doing a lot of the snorts and the kind of verbal inflections. With his flute solo, which is very entertaining and lots of fun. And like I said, it's reminiscent to those early days. At this point, obviously, I mentioned before, Anderson's flute playing just got better and better, and he was at the level of virtuoso, and he didn't really need to do all that. But it's great when he does it now and again, and there's a great display of later day Anderson going mad on the flute with this version of Bouree. So that leads us to the last song on the album, A Winter Snowscape, which is actually, I guess, kind of fitting. This is the actual last time we'll be talking about Martin Barre, although I will be doing Bursting Out eventually. It's kind of appropriate that the album finishes off with a Martin Barre song, as it's really the last time we hear Martin Barre contribute to a Tull album. I might be wrong. There might be another live album, or there might be something where there's a Martin Barre original in there. But yeah, it's Winter Snowscape. Winter Snowscape is a really, really nice little piece. Obviously, it's the acoustic guitar, so it's got that folky sound, and it's not very heavy. It's not very big and bombastic. It's exactly as the title implies. It's very atmospheric, very what's the word? Not filmic. There's just a great visual imagery. Imagery is the word. It's a great winter imagery to it. And even though it's light, the whole band does play. Dome Perry does put some nice little percussion-y bits in there. Although that might be James Duncan, as I said before. And yeah, it's a great way to finish off the album, and really sets up that image of a lovely evening winter snow scene. So yeah, that's it. That is the Jethro Tull Christmas album. I feel very weird that I don't have the album to hold on to. My hands have been flying around like mad for this whole video, so sorry about that. Canadian trademark, I gotta apologize for everything. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for tuning in. Send me a like, send me a subscribe, send me a comment, all that fun stuff. And have yourselves a very Merry Christmas and a very, very Happy New Year. We'll see you all then. Take care.